Hello YouTube, this is FastJ, and today we're going to talk about what should Tekken 8 be. So with the current success of Tekken 7, it's obviously great for the series. Millions of copies have been sold, and the community has grown larger and larger over the years. It will be quite hard to follow up on Tekken 7. But here are my suggestions on what Tekken 8 should be to make it a better game than 7. So first off, I would say improve the story mode. Looking at the series has mostly focused on primarily Kazuya, Heihachi and Jin, and in my opinion they should conclude the Mishima saga and expand the story, because the series has so many great characters. It's just weird that they haven't introduced more of them into the story and made them a core part of what makes Tekken, because it's not only about Heihachi and Jin. I mean, there are so many characters. It should be a given that they should improve upon this point. Looking at what other fighting game studios have done, they can and have enough examples to do so. Next I would say to build upon the fighting game community even more, they should improve upon basic fighting game features like having better tutorials and having frame data standard in the game, not adding it with DLC. I mean, that was just strange what they did with T7, but yeah, the game is so complex. This should be a must, and this should be really in the game. I mean, it's really weird that players should reside on YouTube to get their Tekken knowledge or forums. It shouldn't be that way. The game should have a great base of tutorials and frame data right from the get-go, and I hope that they add that into Tekken 8. Next up, I would say there was a lot of DLC for Tekken 7, but not a lot of meaningful DLC of single player content for casual players. So they should add more side content, better content like Tekken Force or Tekken Ball, or maybe something new, a completely new mode, to entice players to play the game not only online but also in single player fashion. And it should be, it should get the attention of more players that way than only the online and the standard story mode stuff. So hopefully they add something new or a fun mode, just like they did in the past entries. And to get more players in and more players also playing, I would say add crossplay. I mean, looking at all of other games doing it, definitely also looking at fighting games in general. Fighting games aren't the biggest gaming genre overall, still a niche genre, so adding in crossplay should help the player base get more matches also during off times of the day. I do think it would be great so that Xbox players can play with PlayStation players or even PC players, and I really should think that this should be also added as a primary option into the game. And it should improve the player base overall, in my opinion. Another point that is maybe iffy for some people, but in my opinion they should add, seeing how other fighting game series have tried it in the past, and even Tekken itself, is adding a free-to-play version again for Tekken 8 to garner in more of casual audience to the game. It should make it easier for those people to get into the game earlier in the life cycle, because a lot of casual audience have stepped into Tekken 7 later into the life cycle, and it may be a bit daunting to then start playing the game, because a lot of people haven't played the game then on for years, and you're giving them a harder time to get into the game. So in my opinion, if they create a free-to-play version from the get-go, people that aren't sure if they should buy the full game can try it out first, and then if they like it, they can buy the full version afterwards. So I do think that this should be added to Tekken 8, and we'll see if they will. Adding in guest characters, also an iffy point. Not everyone loves it, but I do think for the success of the series and seeing how successful Akuma was overall, I do think they should add in more guest characters into the series, and they can look outside of the fighting game role as well. So not only adding in fighting characters from fighting game series like Virtua Fighter or Dead or Alive or whatsoever, but also into movies or anime or whatever that at least should fit into the roster, because that's something I do think that they shouldn't add really weird wacky characters that don't fit into the roster and the fighting style of Tekken. as long as they fit, yeah, it should be great, and yeah, garner more attention for the series, for growing and expanding the series further. Looking at customization, it's kind of weird that Tekken 5 introduced customization and was also the best entry when it comes to customization, which means that they hasn't really improved customization all that great in the later entries. So I really hope they improve upon this. They had their reasoning on why they didn't improve upon it that much. They said it would just take too much hard drive space in the end, but in my opinion, that shouldn't be just the bottleneck to not improve upon it, right? So in my opinion, just look at Tekken 5 and try to see what worked and what didn't, and improve upon it, because yeah, it was a bit lacking in Tekken 7 in my opinion. Another point is music variety. Looking at the past entries again, Tekken 4 and Tekken 5 had a great mix of rock, tech and orchestral music. And looking at Tekken 7, it was too much on the tech side, and I really hope that they improve upon this. That's what I also really liked about Tekken 4 and 5, is just the musical variety. It really makes certain stages just amazing and memorable, just because they had amazing soundtrack in those games. And I know it's kind of hard to follow up upon those classic games, but that's where they should also look for a little bit of inspiration, because looking at Tekken 7, it was too much tech, and yeah, I hope they just change that a bit. And looking more at a few hardcore features, yeah, improved graphics and animations are given. I hope they improve upon with lower input delay. But what I also would hope to make the next jump in fighting games as well is by adding 120 Hz gameplay. We're seeing that the consoles are able to handle 120 Hz modes with multiple types of games, and I really hope they add this to the fighting game genre. I know not everyone has switched to 120 Hz monitors or TVs yet, but by adding it to this game, yeah, people can have their first entry into the Tekken series that has this as a standard mode or an option, yeah, so that people can get used to playing fighting games in 120 Hz. I mean, the tech is there, so why not use it? In my opinion, it should improve gameplay, add in lower input delay and input shortcuts, and yeah, it just improve the gameplay overall. So yeah, maybe they could add it to the game. We'll see. Another thing would be better balance to the DLC characters. I can be short upon that. The DLC characters are just broken. Just don't add a DLC character and then have the balance be all the way to being overpowered. That should just be not the case. I mean, better balance your DLC characters. I mean, that's one thing that they could have learned from Tekken 7. And also, in my opinion, the juggles are a bit too long. So I hope they can make them a little bit shorter and focus it a bit more on being, yeah, that players should be more precise with their timing to complete juggles. Just like it was in Tekken 5, or maybe like how it was in Street Fighter 4. Those games focused more on precise timing, and it was a bit more challenging, but in my opinion it created an environment where by practicing you could improve, and when you could complete juggles like those you could in those games, it really felt satisfying. So less randomness and more improvement of the player itself should be focused with Tekken 8 in my opinion, to make it more to create an environment that is more fair and less on randomness in my opinion. So I already highlighted the music, but also in my opinion add in legacy stages. I mean, there were so many great stages in the past games, like Tekken Tag 1, in Tekken 4, in Tekken 5. I mean, there have been so many great stages in those games. They should add more in my opinion, and they did some remixes here and there with Tekken 7, but they should just add more in my opinion. And yeah, last 2 points I do have is improvements to the online mode. Quite obviously, I mean, Bandai Namco games don't have the best track record of having a great online mode. They should improve on the netcode. Maybe change the ranking system up a bit, and just see how they can improve on the netcode to make it just as good as how the games of Arc Systems have been. I mean, those games have just god level netcode. I mean, it's kind of hard to match that, but they should at least improve upon it. I mean, I hope they do. And last thing I would say is try experimenting and improving upon sidestepping, on the ground and off the wall gameplay mechanics like Tekken 4. It was an experiment what they did with Tekken 4. Not a lot of people liked it, but in my opinion, to not make the game stale and change things up a bit, I do think there is room for improvement on the sidestepping, on the ground and off the wall mechanics. How they will do it, I don't know exactly, but those mechanics haven't really changed that much throughout the series, so there is room for improvement there, not only in the juggle side, but also those sides that make Tekken. And I do hope the sidestepping and off the ground gameplay and off the wall gameplay have some changes as well. So what do you think that Tekken 8 should be like? Discuss your opinion down below in the comment section. I hope you liked the video. If you like this type of content, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care.